15 million such people are actually being added to India's workforce every year. The lack of any proper employment and post-employment ecosystem linking these people to the right jobs and ensuring that they're actually growing in those jobs leaves them subject to risks of unemployment, risks of health, poverty, which go with it, as well as risk of exploitation.
So really, what are the major problems in the blue-collar employment ecosystem in India? Like I discussed with you before, for the job seeker, the problem is pretty straightforward. There is really no organized, streamlined platform to connect him to the job. This makes it not just difficult for him to find the right job, but also because he has inherent disadvantage of poverty as well as poor education working against him, it makes it a lot easier for there to become for there to be created an informal system of a number of contractors whom we call ठेकेदार to placement agents to all kinds of middlemen and intermediaries who actually charge this job seeker a fortune, forever pushing him into a cycle of indebtedness. From the end of the employer, the problem is no less complex. Because there is no organized platform, it becomes even more difficult for the employer to find the right candidate. He again has to rely on this informal network of intermediaries and of middlemen. The second problem is that because there is no streamlining and because there is no organized platform, there is a high possibility that candidates are actually getting mismatched and going into jobs which they are not suitable for, which often results in high attrition rates and poor selection rates. It also means that the turnaround time for an employer to actually fulfill a vacancy to his satisfaction is very, very high. Therefore, the problem is at both ends. The problem is of massive proportions, and the problem is crying out for an efficient technology-enabled solution. That's where KickStart jobs come in. Through my experience working at the grassroots in India for about 3 years, as well as my experience in a skills development organization in India, where I met my co-founder Abhishek, the one key learning that we realized is that as far as the employment ecosystem goes, job seekers prefer to find jobs through their own networks. There is a very, very strong and powerful offline community of an offline support system consisting of friends, families, extended support, extended network on whom the job seeker relies very, very extensively to find him the right job. And that is where starts innovation comes in. We're basically trying to couple the power of the offline community network, which exists all over India at this entry-level job seeker, for this entry-level job seeker. And we want to leverage this power and leverage this behavior and combine it with the scale and the efficiency and the optimization that technology offers. Our model is very simple, but at the same time captures the heart of what we believe the problem is all about. We create what we call KickStart leaders in different communities of job seekers. This KickStart leader is basically the brand ambassador, the agent of change, as well as the person in the network of job seekers who is trusted and who is looked up to. This person also has significant amount of access to technology and is easy to train as far as technology goes. So we basically identify this person, we empower him with a mobile application on his smartphone. This application is actually used by him to enter data of job seekers around him. We have a very, very powerful matching algorithm which decides based on a number of parameters which we have identified over time based on what job seekers are looking for and what their skills are, and which identifies what the right jobs for these job seekers are. The leader then schedules interviews for these job seekers all through the mobile app, all through the technology system, and thus makes the process of job seeking in India transformative in a way that it has not been so far. To put it very simply, The candidate visits the nearest KickStart leader. This leader is usually within a 1 to 2 kilometer radius of the candidate, is generally part of the candidate's network, could be a friend, could be a relative, could be a friend of a friend, a former colleague, etc. The leader then performs an assessment on the mobile application, and the entire process ends with the candidate getting a job interview with a date and a time for that particular interview. So, really, what is Kickstart's USP and what is at the core of what's driving our company? The first, obviously, is that we have a very, very strong method of growth, which is basically through network marketing and through word of mouth. Because we rely so strongly on leaders who are our agents of change, all of our growth, all of our expansion of job seeker database actually happens through our leaders. Moreover, creation of new leaders also happens through the same operation of word of mouth and of reference. The second major advantage that we have is that our turnaround time for fulfilling a vacancy is actually very, very fast compared to a lot of other solutions that are available in the market. The reason for this is simply that we have a massive network of people who are actively engaged in getting job seekers for us. So when we compare it to, say, a technology portal that would operate in the similar space, what we have is actually a much more rapid and a much more real-time sourcing of genuine job seekers, people who are actively looking for a job and ready to join in the span of a few days, which is something uh, which is of massive advantage in this particular space. The third major advantage that we have is the fact that our assessments are actually spot on. Because we're using the technology not just to map the basic skills of the job seeker, but the leader in the course of his assessment actually ends up mapping what we call mindset factors. So, for example, a number of factors which actually go into play, from salary expectations to location constraints to job aspirations. And all of these factors are actually being used to identify the right bucket of vacancies for every job seeker. This ensures that more job seekers show up for interviews, more job seekers get selected to interviews, and more job seekers get placed in jobs. Lastly, and this is again a very, very unique feature that Kickstart has and something that is going to massively drive our growth in the future, the fact that the leader to job seeker connection is such that once a job seeker gets placed in the job, it activates a system of feedback to the employer through the mobile application and through our portal, which actually enables the employer to take a lot of corrective action before a job seeker actually ends up leaving the job. There is also a peer counseling mechanism which is triggered off once a job seeker joins the job. And this helps us lower attrition rates far more effectively than any other company in this space. How do we make our money? So currently, we charge employers a one-time recruitment fee. For employers who focus heavily on attrition and who like to retain quality employees, there are premium plans that we offer, which are monthly and quarterly plans. For the job seeker, this service is currently free. However, once we've reached a point where there is a certain surety to our service delivery, we would like to charge job seekers a minimal fee for repeated usage to ensure that they too are invested in the process of job seeking. As far as our revenue outflow is concerned, the way we incentivize Kickstart leaders is that every time we get a commission from the employer, 30% of this commission is actually passed on to the Kickstart leader. Therefore, the Kickstart leader has a very, very strong monetary incentive to do what he does. But he also has a very strong social recognition incentive that goes with it. These are some of our clients. They range from some of the most established companies in India to a number of fast-growing startups. Currently, we're focusing on Delhi and surrounding cities nearby, and we have over 100 clients whom we've onboarded in this particular area. To give you a quick overview of what our timeline and our milestones look like. So we launched as a company in August of last year, and we basically launched as a full service company where we basically hired people full time to go into communities to find us the right job seekers. Uh, we had from August to December, which is when we operated in this model, we placed close to 400 job seekers and had 700 interviews. Um, However, what we realized as a result of this was that while this was an effective model with a focus on retention and on counseling, it was not a scalable one. And that's when, in January of 2016, we ended up developing what we have today as the leader model. Since February, which is when we implemented the leader model, uh, we got 500 job seekers and we've got 500 job seekers and 300 interviews. It was towards the end of May that we ended up launching the app for the KickStart Leader, and we've seen almost double growth rates as soon as we launched the technology. We've seen very high rates of adoption as far as the technology is concerned, and we've seen much greater engagement with the leaders after our technology has come into play. We also closed our round of seed funding in May itself. And as of June last month, we've done somewhere close to 1,200 interviews, which have been scheduled through our app, through the leaders. And we've had 200 selections of successful selections of job seekers. And this number is actually growing 100% month on month so far. In terms of the competitive landscape, to give you a brief overview, so there are some parameters that we've taken into account. The first is obviously in terms of the reach of the job seekers, to the job seekers, I'm sorry. The second is in terms of how effective the company actually is at placing the right job seeker to the right job. So on the one hand, if you see companies like Baba Jobs and Quicker Jobs, these are basically pure play technology based solutions which aim to connect job seekers to jobs. But they have a couple of problems. One is obviously because they're pure technology solutions, the reach in the target market becomes limited. And the second problem is that because it's a pure technology solution, the chances of a job seeker entering correct data about himself and therefore being scheduled and mapped to the right job becomes very low. Hence, effectiveness falls as well. On the other hand, we have we have what we call local placement consultancies, which range from your contractors, who are also locally called thekedars, to smaller placement agents, placement consultancies. So apart from the fact that they're very exploitative as far as the job seeker is concerned, from the employer's perspective as well, because they're largely homegrown and have local presence, their reach is limited. While their effectiveness is slightly higher than pure play solutions, it's still not high enough because they don't use organized or systematic technology driven solutions to actually mapping job seekers to the best fit jobs. This is where KickStart Jobs comes in. What we want to do is use our network to actually have a wide reach, and at the same time use technology, use our algorithm to ensure, as well as in fact the close link between the leader and the job seeker that exists, to ensure that the right candidate is getting placed in the right job. Like I mentioned before, this is a problem that impacts over 500 million job seekers in India. 5 years from now, we hope to have brought at least 1 million job seekers into our ecosystem. That's 1 million job seekers who've got access to the right jobs, who are able to grow in their career because they can now get a job in future that leverages on the skills that they've learned in their current job. That's 1 million job seekers who now have a means of communication with their employer and who now free from the cycle of exploitation that is conducted by intermediaries all over India. That's 1 million times 5, the number of people who are actually part of the families of these job seekers, who can now look forward to the stability that comes with a steady income with a growing income and who can now look forward to more opportunities in the future because of this. We want to be present in 20 cities of India where this problem is most critical, and we're looking at a revenue of close to $20 million at the end of these 5 years. So these are some of our investors from the first round of funding, as well as some of our advisors both in India and through the GSBI program. This is our team. So there's me. I look after operations in the company. My co-founder Abhishek looks after product and strategy. He's worked with Halliburton in an operations role for close to 5 years. And we met at Pratham, which is basically a skill development organization, which helps in upskilling of people who belong to below poverty line income groups. Ayush looks after user engagement. He's looking at developing our leader model. He's worked as a consultant at Wipro Technologies before. And our chief technology officer is Mohit, who was formerly CTO and co-founder at 2 other companies. And he drives technology in all of the technology innovations that happen at the company. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to be a part of the program, as well as to present our company to you. We're very excited and very proud of what we do. And if you have any questions, any feedback, we'd be very, very happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay, terrific. Very good job, Samitri. Let me turn you over to John Lovett.
Thanks. That was an excellent presentation. I've got just a couple of things that I think might strengthen a little bit, or that I didn't come away understanding as much as I might. And the first one of those, I think, is around the balance between recruiting candidates and recruiting companies. Clearly, this is a matching business, and you're going to need to grow the two sides in parallel. And it appears you've paid some attention to that, but that part didn't come through, I think, as much in the presentation. And it's pretty critical to the business. It sounds like you've thought about it, and it might be worth just putting a little bit more of that in. The other question that I had is